A human rights lawyer says corrections appears to have broken the law by keeping 2 women in a segregation unit at Auckland Women's Prison for 4 months in conditions likened to those of caged animals. Prisoners usually stay 2 weeks in the unit, known as the pound, and the law sets out rules that need to be followed to keep them in longer. Rules that the number 2 at the prison has admitted she didn't even know existed. This morning, RNZ revealed that women were gassed with pepper spray in their cells, made to lie face down on the ground before they were fed, and had to plead for basic hygiene products. Human rights lawyer Douglas Ewen says the conditions could meet the definition of torture, and New Zealand may have an international obligation to report them. Guyon Espiner broke the story this morning and filed this report.
Inmate Mihi Bassett says Auckland Women's is less like a prison and more like a battlefield.
Every single time they came ready for war, really. That was their mentality. We're doing this whether you like it or not, and we're going to use as much force and as much pepper spray as it takes to get you out of there.
Prisoners are some of the least powerful people in the country, but today there was concern right from the top.
The reports I've heard have been disturbing. This is something, though, that of course I've seen early reporting on. I haven't seen anything official. I know Minister Davis has asked to be briefed by officials to look into what he's equally described as very disturbing reports.
Later, Corrections Minister Kelvin Davis said his department had assured him the use of force by corrections was lawful and justified. But human rights lawyer Douglas Ewen says the conditions the women were held in could be a breach of the International Convention Against Torture.
New Zealand may have a case to answer in torture. Now, that is something that no Western nation should ever have to put its hands up and admit.
After burning prison property and causing about $20,000 worth of damage, Mihi Bassett, who's serving 10 years for her role in a home invasion, spent 4 months in the segregation unit along with another inmate. But Douglas Ewen says it appears corrections broke the law in sending them there for that long. The Corrections Act says if a prison is to keep an inmate for more than 14 days in segregation, they need the permission of the chief executive. In the court case over the arson charge against Bassett, her lawyer Hannah Kim tackled the deputy director of the prison, Alison Fowley, on this issue of how a segregation order can legally stay in place.
It can be reviewed by a chief executive at intervals of no more than 1 month, and it expires after 3 months unless a visiting justice directs that it continues in force.
I wasn't aware of that in that context.
You weren't aware of this?
I'm saying that personally, I wasn't aware of that.
Douglas Ewen said the need to continually review the risk of holding a prisoner in the pound was in the law because segregation could cause real psychological damage.
The fact that the second in charge in the prison is unaware of a fundamental obligation is a matter of extreme concern.
At least 4 women were gassed with pepper spray inside their cells using multiple canisters of pepper spray in a cell buster extraction designed to remove them from their cells. Corrections says that in most of these cases the women have activated sprinklers in protest and that the cell then becomes a safety risk. And the women are warned they have to vacate or will be bombed with pepper spray. But Meg Duran from Amnesty International says the practice should be banned, along with what she says is a punitive feeding regime for high-security prisoners.
Amnesty International is calling for the immediate end to cell buster extractions using pepper spray and to the immediate end of the degrading practices around feeding.
Both the Minister for Corrections and his department say the use of force was lawful and was justified. For Checkpoint, ko Guyon Espiner tēnei.